You nuts? What the hell? I've got a bad feeling about this. Hold it! Fucking terror group. What the fuck am I doing here? Stop! What the hell? I've got a bad feeling about this. Hold it! Fucking terror group.
Welcome everybody. Yes, we are back. It's only been 7 days since the last time you've seen this face. I get it. You miss it. Anyway, so today we have a very special episode for you guys. Today we'll be breaking down, basically doing a recap of this week's debate. If you didn't know, those who didn't know or didn't care to watch, that's what I'm here for. There was a two-part debate that was on Wednesday and Thursday, broken down between the 20 people. So they split them up in the group into 10 of them was on Wednesday night. The other 10 were on Thursday night. And we're gonna go over everybody who's there. If you didn't know who they are, who's relevant, who's irrelevant, and who I feel like, who I like, who I don't like, and what I feel and think about them. So with that being said, let's get into our first candidate, Mr. Bernie Sanders. Here is Bernie, our favorite Jew. Everybody basically knows who Bernie is. It's hard for you not to. I do think Bernie did very well. I gave him a B plus. He came out, firing. He came out, doing his usual spiel. If there was a problem, is the fact that it's just his usual spiel. But other than that, he is a serious contender, and I like him very much. And for that reason, he is going to stay up on the board as a serious candidate who I think we can move forward into the next round. So our next candidate is Mr. John Daly, who, to be honest, is a nobody. Didn't strike me as relevant, didn't strike me as unique in any type of way. Didn't like him all that very much, and to be honest, he's not going to get to the next round, I don't see, so throw him in the trash. Next, Elizabeth Warren, who I thought overall won her debate. She was part of the first round, the first 10. And I thought she was she came in as the favorite, and I think she left as the favorite. Although there were some other people who made a pretty good case for themselves, I think I gave Elizabeth an A, and liked her overall mess. Honestly, she's just like a female version of Bernie. Her politics are basically the same. I don't think she poses the same threat as far as the establishment threat that Bernie Sanders poses, which that's why I like Bernie. But other than that, I thought she won the debate, and I think she's going to do good, and I can see her moving on to the next round. So we're going to keep her. Next, we have Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, who's emerged as the new hotshot within the Democratic Party. I mean, Jesus. She went up there and stole the show. And I mean stole the show. I mean, she's a prosecutor for sure. That's what she does. That's what her job either was or is. I'm not sure if she's still doing it. You know, being that she's running for president now, it takes up a lot of your time and energy. I doubt you could still be prosecuting people. But I thought she did real well. I gave her an A. And when it comes down to debate, right? Strictly debate and who I could see on a debate stage with Donald Trump. Now, I don't necessarily agree with her politics, right? Or even genuinely like her. But she knows how to work a debate. And her standing up there with Donald Trump, she could fuck Donald up there. I mean, she's a fucking hawk. I mean, this is a clip. This is just one clip, but I mean, she was fucking Joe Biden up all night. Watch this clip.
I do not believe you are a racist, and I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision. So that's where the
federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
I mean, she was, and that's just one instance. She was on Joe's fucking bumper all night. I mean, they all were. Poor Joe. I mean, they were all on his head all night. And like I said, Kamala, when it comes to that debate stage, she knows what she's doing. She knows how to work the crowd. She knows how to, and we'll get to the crowd later, and what I think of the whole premise of this debate is. But when it comes to that debate stage and seeing her potentially up there with Trump, even though, I mean, maybe, probably not, I do think whoever does get the nomination, if it's not Kamala, they need to put her on the ticket for sure, either her or Elizabeth. Whether Bernie gets the nomination, which could possibly, there's a pretty strong way that this year that Bernie could get it. I think we Democrats recognize they fucked up trying to roll out Hillary last election, and they should have went with Bernie, and he could have really beat Donald Trump. So if him or Joe end up getting the nomination, they need to put either Kamala or Elizabeth up on that. They need to be on that card as well. So with that being said, let's move on to our next potential candidate, Kristen Gillibrand. Now, during this debate, I had to be honest, I could not fucking stand her. She came off like she's super fucking cunty. First of all, I'm sorry. She interrupted everybody every time they spoke a word. And even the words that she said, it's not like she had anything interesting or different to say. She just wanted to say it louder than everybody else. I mean, I gave her a C+ for that because she made herself somewhat relevant. I didn't know who she was before this debate. I mean, I still don't know who she is. I know her name. But she's not relevant. She's not going to get past the next stage. And I just don't like her, period, to be honest. So throw her in a dumpster, too. Next candidate we have is Beto. Fucking Beto. First of all, I have to say, Beto, I don't like that you call yourself Beto. Okay, I'm sorry. I know you're from El Paso, but your name is Robert. All right, I know what you're doing. You know, you're pandering. You know, that's what you're pandering to an audience. You're pandering to, you're playing identity politics the same way. When in the beginning of the debate, when they first talked, I think the first question that they posed towards you, you immediately went to speak in Spanish. And then that turned into everybody else up there who knew 10 words of Spanish trying to speak Spanish. And it's, we get mad at conservatives for playing the identity politics games. But I mean, the Democrats do it in such a cringy way. I mean, when you watch that, he was part of the first debate on Wednesday night. And when you watch that debate and you saw them guys up there trying to speak Spanish and answer questions in Spanish, and it's not that I have a problem with it. It's just like people aren't stupid. People know, they know what you're doing. And it comes off as disgenuine and just, it's just not a good look all around. Especially when you have somebody like Julian up there. And we'll get to Julian and how he fucked Beto up later. So with that being said, I gave Beto a C+. He got once people started to kind of get to him, he got quiet and didn't win me over whatsoever. I heard a lot about him. He made a lot of noise during his I think it was his congressional campaign in Texas. It was either Congress or Senate. He was trying to get a Senate seat or a congressional seat in Texas. He was trying to go, and he lost to God damn it, what's that guy's name? He ran for president against Trump. He's a conservative. Oh man, Ted Cruz. And first of all, he lost to Ted Cruz. I mean, Ted Cruz's kids don't even like him, and you lost to Ted Cruz. So that didn't help your cause whatsoever. So I'm sorry, man. Robert, but next, you're not gonna make it to the next. Amy was very interesting. Amy, on the other hand, was one of the people who I absolutely knew nothing about. Didn't even know her name, what she looked like, and she, in that debate, let me know. I gave her a B grading. We could probably give it a B grading's about right. I thought she did good. She's eloquent. She's very smart. She made a very good point as far as she made a very good case for winning, right? Because she was saying, she's from Minnesota, and that's she made a point that she can win tough places that most liberals couldn't. A liberal like Bernie or like Elizabeth Warren probably couldn't win in, Amy made a good point that she can win in those places. And the fact that she made herself relevant to me more than any, because there's a lot of people on this list who were basically irrelevant before this debate and are going to be still irrelevant after this debate. And she made a very good case for herself. So I think she's a keeper, and I think she goes on to the next round. So I'll put her up, going up to the next round. Let's get on to the next. Fucking Cory Booker. Cory Booker was another guy, you know, I like the guy personally, right? You know, he's a good guy. He's done some good things. But, I mean, like I said, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, it came, him in particularly, and he was part of that first debate on Wednesday night, went up there, spoke Spanish too, like an idiot. And it just comes off as super disingenuous. And there's a moment in the actual debate, if you want to go back and watch it on your own time, but there's a moment in the debate when they're all speaking Spanish and he knows he's going to get a question posed to him. So you actually see him with this blank stare off into space, trying to figure out the words that he's going to speak in Spanish once his name is called. Excuse me. And it's embarrassing, to be honest. Not speaking Spanish isn't embarrassing. Just the identity politics, the way that they're basically trying to manipulate feelings or a certain genuineness through identity, and it's not a good thing. And for that reason, I like you guys, but we gotta throw you in the trash too, bro. Sorry. Getting on to our next guy, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, a veteran. He's also gay, but very, very, very smart. And I don't mean to say gay, but but he's smart on top of that. Him being gay is fine, is what I'm trying to say. But very smart. And I have to say, is another guy who I knew about, I wasn't very familiar with, but I thought on the main stage, I can't remember if he was in the second debate Thursday night with the heavy hitters, because the Wednesday debate wasn't really the heavy hitters. They basically tried to just give a layup to Elizabeth Warren. She was the only real relevant person on that on the first night, on Wednesday night's debate stage, and I felt like they were trying to give her a layup, and it basically was to her. Like I said, I thought she was a clear-cut winner. So yeah, Pete wasn't on. Pete was up there on Thursday night with the heavy hitters, and he showed that he belonged up there, and he's smarter than a lot of them people up there. I only gave him a C+, but I do think what he said, his appearance up there, the way he speaks up there, he to me comes off probably more genuine than anybody else. He's one of the few people up there that actually owned up to a policy that was his, that he felt like he failed on, and during the debate he owned up on that. So I would give him the genuine points to him. And the only issue is, and hear me out, right, is optics matter when it comes to electing a president. And you have to remember, when it comes to liberals, they're going to vote for you either way. Whoever gets the nomination, liberals are going to vote for you. They might not vote at all, but the liberals who vote are going to vote for whoever their candidate is. You need to be up there talking to conservatives. And I thought that was a big problem with all the people that were up there on that debate stage on both nights, is that you're just up there talking to your own crowd when you already have their vote. You don't need to go up there and suck up and even lie in a lot of cases, because they're not all liars, but they were all posed questions, right, when it came to immigration or healthcare, and they're basically lying when some of the answers that they gave, especially when it came to immigration, when they asked them all who would decriminalize illegal immigration, would you decriminalize and make it a civil offense? And they all basically raised their hand and said yes. They're all fucking lying. I mean, maybe Bernie, maybe Elizabeth, but the rest of them aren't going to do it. Maybe Julian, but I doubt Julian We'll get to Julian in a minute. But they're all basically lying. When it comes to healthcare and their belief in, Medicare for all, I think they genuinely believe that it should be a right, or that it should be, every American's right to have healthcare for all system. But they're not going to get it done, or they don't believe in it themselves. So, but with that being said, I do think Pete does get pushed up onto the next level, and I would keep him up. So, getting to our next potential candidate is Tulsi Gabbard. My personal favorite candidate. Tulsi Gabbard is somebody who I've been following for a long time. Maybe not a long time, but for a while. I'm pretty familiar with her politics. I agree with many of her politics, especially her foreign policy. She was the only one that was personally attacked up there on the stage and handled it very well. And I thought there was, she gets attacked so much. When she does these interviews, and she does, when she does like The View and these other places, she gets attacked so much because of her anti-war stance. She is not for war whatsoever, much like I am, and so I'm much more along the lines of with her. She's my favorite candidate, and I think she handled herself very well. I gave her a B- only because I felt like she could have done more to get her message across. Whether she would have had to, speak up, interrupt, whatever. I mean, nobody else was caring about it. I get it. She wanted to do the right thing and wait for her turn and take her time. So I get that. Like I said, I gave her a B-, but I think it was good enough to bring her along to the onto the next stage. And she's another person who I think whoever does end up getting the nomination, if it's not her, if it's not Tulsi, she should be on that card, either her or Kamala. A woman in general. If a man gets the nomination, it would the optics, you know what I'm saying, would look good with a woman on that ticket, and especially you have an old man like fucking Bernie. At least you have somebody else who's aesthetically a bit more pleasing than an old Jew. So with that being said, I keep her up. I move her on to the next phase, and we'll get on to our next candidate, who is Andrew Yang. And I really like Andrew Yang, man. I really, really like Andrew Yang. He wants to give everyone in America $1,000 a month, or everybody over 18. He calls it a trickle-up economy. The way he explains it makes a lot of sense, especially the fact that the lower class people are the people who spend the most amount of money. And so if you gave people extra $1,000 a month, it's not like they're just going to hoard it in a bank account. They're going to spend it. So it makes a lot of sense that it would create more economic growth and even opportunity as far as jobs wise. If you have people spending more money, you can, companies can employ more people. People would be a lot freer to pursue things that they love, that they like to do. And so the way he explains it makes a lot of sense. And I like Andrew Yang very, very much. But I can't consider him a serious candidate as much as I wish he was. I can't. I don't see it. He didn't make a strong case for himself up there. He barely even spoke. I gave him a C. It's probably closer to a C- grade during the debate. It didn't help that he was oh man, was he up there with the heavy? I think he was up there on Thursday night. Yeah, he was up there with Thursday night's debate stage. So he was on there with all the heavy hitters, and he basically got drowned out in all the noise and didn't really get to speak. Although maybe he goes on to the next phase, maybe, only because he has a sort of cult following. The people who do like him very much. As far as serious contenders, one of these guys up here, serious contenders, I can't put Andrew Yang up there. As much as I would love to, I can't. So, sorry, Drew. You gotta go. So, our next candidate is Jay Inslee, who... this is the guy who tried to say that he was one of the only people up there. He was on he was on Wednesday night's debate stage with Tulsi Gabbard, Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, and there's another female. But he basically tried to say that he was one of the only people who was up there who fought for women's rights, women's reproductive rights, and was quickly and swiftly corrected by Amy Klobuchar, however you say her name. Sorry. But other than that, honestly, I gave him a C+. I don't even know why. I don't even remember him or what he said. He's irrelevant. He's not a serious contender. Get rid of him. Next, we have John Hickenlooper, another guy, irrelevant. Don't know you. Still don't know you. Oh, I know who you are. Colorado. Maybe governor of Colorado. But other than that, you're not a serious contender. Don't see it. Sorry. Throw him in the trash. Next, we have Marianne Williamson, the hippie out of the bunch. Now, although she came off a bit loopy and isn't gonna make it to the next round, she made a good point with as far as healthcare she goes, and this is something that the people who I listen to in the media and people who I like and respect in the media, when it comes to healthcare, we don't do. She made a point to say we don't have healthcare system. We have a sick care system, to where all we do is take care of sick people instead of focusing on what's making them sick in general. In preventive care, in preemptive care. Keeping Americans healthy. Therefore, because that in turn, everybody talks about giving everybody free health care, but the cheapest way, the most efficient way to do health care would be to have a preventive healthcare system to where you're keeping people healthy instead of trying to just fix them when they get sick. So I did think she made a good point, but other than that, she came off a little bit loopy and crazy, and she's not a serious contender, so we can get rid of her. Next, we have Julian Castro, who some say stole the show from Elizabeth. Like I said, I still think Elizabeth was the clear winner, but Julian made a good case for herself. He was the first one to take off the gloves and use those gloves in the direction of a Beto Award. We'll play this clip for you. See how bad he fucked Beto up.
Reason to make that 2,000-mile journey to this country.
Secretary, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Let's be very clear. The reason that they're separating these little children from their families is that they're using Section 1325 of that act, which criminalizes coming across the border, to incarcerate the parents and then separate them. Some of us on this stage have called to end that section, to terminate it. Some, like Congressman O'Rourke, have not. And I want to challenge all of the candidates to do that. I just think it's a mistake, Beto. I think it's a mistake. And I think that if you truly want to change the system, then we got to repeal that section. If not, then it might as well be the same policy.
Let me respond to this very briefly. Actually, as a member of Congress, I helped to introduce legislation that would ensure that we don't criminalize those who are seeking asylum and refuge in this country. If you're fleeing desperation, then I want to make sure that you're treated with respect.
I'm still talking about everybody else.
But you're looking at just one small part of this. I'm talking about a comprehensive rewrite of our immigration laws.
That's not true.
And if we do that, I don't think it's asking too much for people to follow our laws when they come to this country.
I'm talking about millions of folks. A lot of folks that are coming are not seeking asylum. A lot of them are undocumented immigrants, right? And you said recently that the reason you didn't want to repeal Section 1325 was because you were concerned about human trafficking and drug trafficking. But let me tell you what. Section 18, Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Title 21, and Title 22 already cover human trafficking and drug trafficking. I think that you should do your homework on this issue. If you did your homework on this issue, you would know that we should repeal this section.
This is an issue that we lit his ass on fire, made him look stupid out there. And after that happened, Beto basically just imploded into himself and disappeared all night. And so I gave him he did make a good case for himself. He was another person I didn't really know very much about. I gave him a B+. I think that particular instance just right there will propel him into the next round. I don't think he gets past the next round of debates. or gets anywhere near the nomination. He's too short. I'm sorry. Let's just keep it real. He's too short. He's just too short. Nobody wants a short president. You don't want your president walking out there in front of the whole world, 5'8". He's just too short. I'm sorry. But he did make a new case for himself, so I will keep him up there. I think he did do a very good job. On the case, though, what they were talking about, right? And this is another thing, like I said, the baiting that they're doing to the Hispanic people as far as the policy that they're talking about right there, which is illegal immigration and decriminalizing illegal immigration. And I think we all saw the image, right? Well, maybe you didn't see the image. I'm not going to pull that image up for you guys. It's a bad image. But we saw that image of that father with his daughter laying face down in the Rio Grande River, dead. And it's a real tearjerker. As somebody with kids myself, I couldn't imagine being in a situation that would drive me to do something that dangerous. And but the problem is, right, when you show that image, right, people think that that's somehow some type of isolated incident. That situation that happened with that man and his daughter is not an isolated incident. That is something that happens every single day out there. And they didn't die right there because crossing the border illegally is a crime. They died because crossing the border illegally is fucking dangerous. It's dangerous as fuck. You're talking about one of the most dangerous regions in North America. Hundreds of miles. These people are crossing across desert. It's supremely dangerous. And decriminalizing it, right, isn't going to make that trek less dangerous. It might, in some cases, make it worse if you decriminalize it and it incentivizes illegal immigration in some type of way for them. They just, so they just come illegally. You would get more cases of that man and his daughter laying face first in the water, because it being illegal or you decriminalizing it isn't going to stop that from happening. In many cases would make it worse. It's dangerous. It's dangerous as fuck. And decriminalizing it isn't just the answer. And when they asked that question, and I'm pretty sure all of them raised their hand when they were asked would they decriminalize illegal immigration and make it a civil offense, most of them all raised their hands. And most of them are all lying. But, like I said, the disingenuousness of Democrats when it comes to things like this, because especially when it comes to immigration, I understand it is a passionate topic, right? And there's a lot of feelings involved, because people, as we saw last week, they lose their lives out there. And but you have to be realistic about what you're saying. You have to be realistic about the things that you say when it comes out there, because if you want to win an election, you want to, like I said, when you say all that, will you decriminalize? You're talking to liberals when you're saying that. That's not, when you're up there on that debate stage, you need to be talking to conservatives. The liberals are going to vote for you already. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you get the nomination, they're going to vote for you already. It doesn't matter. That is not who you need to be talking to. You need to be reaching across that aisle to the Republicans, to conservatives. And I've said this many times before, not on the show, but I'll say it this time now. Democrats could win every single election if they just get serious about immigration. Just get serious about it. This idea of this open border policy, whether you like it, whether you agree it, whether it's fair or not, is not going to win you elections. It's not, because it's just not going to help you. You could literally win every single election if the Republicans don't have a qualified candidate and you want to be able to reach on the other end and grab some of those votes. If the conservatives had somebody they had faith would put some type of realistic measures in at the border, so it's not just this open border policy, or perceived to be this open border policy, they would win every single election, hands down, easily. But, who knows, they won't do it. But with that being said, Julian, he stays up, and we'll get to our next guy, Eric Swalwell, a young guy from California. I think he's a little bit older than Pete Buttigieg. I think Pete is the youngest guy, and I think after Pete is Eric Swalwell. He's from California. I think he's a congressman from California. He was another one of those guys on Joe Biden's head all night, talking hella shit. But other than that, He's not a serious candidate. He came off as kind of a pest. He kept calling for Joe to pass the torch. It got pretty annoying, and a serious candidate, I don't see it. So I don't move him on to the next stage. So get rid of him. Next we have Michael Bennett. Were you even there, bro? I don't even recognize you. Next person. Who the fuck is this? Tim Ryan. Oh, he was the clean energy guy. I gave him a C+. He's a clean energy guy. He wants to take a lot of the factory jobs that are lost in the Pittsburgh and Iowa and Ohio places, and make those factory jobs clean energy jobs, which makes a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, you're still irrelevant. You're not saying anything special or in particular that any one of those other candidates up there would say or do. So with that being said, you're out of here too. Next, we will go on to Bill de Blasio, who, for whatever fucking reason, I gave a B-. He's also for one of the more ridiculous 70% tax rate for people who make $10 million a year or more. Which again, you want to win a debate, you want to win. All right, I understand you want to play the righteous card and be firm on what you believe and all that, but we're trying to win a fucking debate, and you going out there telling people that you want to tax people who make $10 million or more a year 70% is not going to win you no fucking votes, especially conservatives, which you need to be targeting. So I'd probably bring that ranking back down to a C+. Mayor of New York. So it's like you already have a big enough fucking job already, other than running for president, being the mayor of one of the biggest cities in America. So with that being said, you're out of here. You're not a serious contender. I don't see it. Sorry. I just don't see it with you, Bill. So getting to our next person is Sneaky motherfucking Joe. Sneaky Joe, who did so bad, right? Did so bad. I mean, you had basically he was on the superstar panel, right? With Camilla, Tulsi was up there, Bernie Sanders, and you just got your ass lit on fire the whole night. I've never seen in any debate ever. Most of these candidates, most of the time, right, when they're up there, they don't give a fuck about nothing the moderator is saying. Usually the moderator tries to end their time, right? You let them know, okay, your time is up, and they just keep going to try to finish their point. Fucking Joe just, oh, my time's up? Okay. Especially after, he did this after he was personally attacked by Kamala Harris. And the optics of it was so bad. I mean, poor Joe. He just got his ass whooped all fucking night. But he's still Joe Biden. He's still the nostalgic guy that we all, hope and wish. We all wish Miss Obama and hope and wish. We basically want another version of Obama. And to us, that is Joe Biden. Even though I gave him a C-, he's still ahead in the polls. I think he's still higher than everybody else in the polls. And he's still a very serious contender. So with that being said, we have 8. That leaves us with 8 serious candidates: Julian Castro, Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, and Joe Biden. And I'm hoping that's all we have in the next debate. I'm hoping that the rest of these guys do us all a favor, do everybody a favor, and just drop out, because we don't need to hear from you anymore whatsoever. And it'll help clean up these debates, and because that's a huge problem. I'll close with this, right? Whoever is in control, whether it's NBC or the Democratic National Committee, who's in charge of the production of these debates, I mean, it's so ridiculous. It is such a spectacle. I mean, this is serious business. We're trying to elect a president. And the idea that I only have 1 minute, I have a bunch of people in the crowd cheering, chewing up time. And the crowd, first of all, the crowd shouldn't be there whatsoever. Crowd should not be there. And whoever's showing it, there should either be very limited commercials or none at all. This is a serious debate. We're trying to see who should be our clear-cut president going on to the future, or who we should at least nominate to go up against Donald Trump to try and defeat him. And the theatrics of it all, the show of it all, is so bad, it's so ridiculous. That needs to change. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, and it makes no sense. This is you give conservatives a reason to point and laugh and be like, look how much they don't have their shit together, or look how foolish, look how dumb they look up there, all trying to out Spanish each other, all trying to out who is Bill de Blasio. I'm the only one up here with the black sun. You know, this pandering, this identity politics. We go after conservatives so much when it comes to playing identity politics, right? But we do it in the even sleazier way. We do it in a more manipulative, more sleazier way. And that debate, the spectacle of the debate, shows it. So, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in and watching. This is a bit longer of an episode. Thank you guys all for tuning in and watching. I had a great time with this show. So, stay out of trouble, kids. We'll see you next week, maybe.